time for this covering college costs, understanding and comparing financial aid offers. With this program that we're going to be how we're going to be doing this, just to give a little bit of a housekeeping, we've got financial aid experts that are going to be on the chat box. If you're watching this program live, obviously, if you're not, those are things we're going to encourage you, if you have questions, to check with your colleges and universities that you're looking at where you get your financial aid offers from. But during the live program here, we've got Janelle Martin from Buena Vista University, Kylie Klamas from Southwestern Community College, and Sarah Freestone from Iowa State University that is going to be on the chat answering questions as I, Eric Danielson with ICANN, go through this program and talk about a lot of different areas with comparing and going over the financial aid offers that you're going to receive. So again, if you have questions at all, please put those in the chat box and our financial aid experts will answer those for you. Just to give you an idea or a little bit of an overview, wanted to share a timeline on how things look. And the timeline this year, as many of you families know and you're going through it, is different than what's been done in the past years, or you've been told at least it's different if this is your first time in going through with it. Want to talk about financial aid offers, break down a little bit about the different types of financial aid too, and then share with you what happens next as well. The first thing that I do want to discuss though, and again, questions, please put those in the chat box. You have them as we go along, including maybe any questions about this subject, the free application for federal student aid. If any of you are watching this are still needing to fill out the FAFSA form, this is what gets the whole ball rolling for the financial aid process to see what a student might qualify for, not only federal aid, but state aid and even institutional aid as well. Studentaid.gov is where you would go to fill out the application, also to get what we call FSA IDs, which is something that you need to have done and verified before you're able to do the FAFSA form. And for those of you with Social Security numbers that get an FSA ID, it'll typically take 1 to 3 days for your studentaid.gov FSA ID account after you create it to be verified to do the FAFSA form. Now, once you do complete the form, in a normal year, it'd be processed within 3 to 5 days. This year, the processing didn't start until mid-March, and even then, there's been issues with it, and can be a reason why some of you, if you were expecting to already have a financial aid offer and you haven't yet, there has been some major problems with the processing that has been taking place. Just as a reminder, though, with the financial aid, this FAFSA form, for 24-25 school year that you would fill out, you would use 2022 taxes. Even though most of you by now would have 2023 taxes if you haven't filled out a FAFSA yet, 2024 FAFSA is using 2022 tax information. And so you would need to, that's what you would need to utilize in filling out this form. Now that process normally starts filling out the FAFSA, being able to complete it on October 1. This year, there was a delay because of all the major changes that were taking place within the form. So it didn't start until December 31st. And even then, that was a soft launch. And it took a little while for it to really get up and running well. Even when it was up and running well, I say in parentheses there, there's been some major issues for families in being able to fill it out. For some, I think it was better, as they like to call it. But for others, they've had some issues and are continuing to have issues as well. Now, no matter when you did the form after December 31st, processing ended up not being started until mid-March. And even then, with that being in mid-March, there were major issues that were still taking place, and some of the processing was wrong. People that wanted to make corrections, that actually didn't happen until the middle of April. So corrections have only been able to be made in the last month too. So that's been a little bit frustrating, but also one reason why that many colleges and universities have just begun, and some of them haven't or will be soon, in sending out your financial aid offers. There were a lot of schools that just began in the middle or end of April. There's still quite a few schools even in many community colleges that haven't begun yet in sending out financial aid offers and are planning to do that here real soon here in the middle of May, towards the end of May. But if any of you have not received financial aid offers yet, you can check with your college and university about it to make sure you're not missing any information. But chances are they probably haven't been sending them out yet because of this delay in the whole financial aid timeline this year. We are all hoping in the financial aid community that it won't look like this next year and we'll get back to a normal setting. It may not be completely normal, but hopefully it'll be a little bit better than what we have seen this year. Something we're going to want all of you as families to do, though, is May through July, finalize those plans and transitional issues that you might have. Some things that we'll talk about on here, but that is something we're going to want you to, if you haven't been able to start yet real soon and try to have that all done by July, because coming up at the middle end of August is when the students will be going off the next school year. Now, after the student fills out the FAFSA form, student and family fills that out, the reason why you're filling it out is they're trying to give you, the federal government give you a student aid index. This index is used by colleges to help determine your eligibility and the types of aid that a student is going to be able to receive. Your student aid index number is going to remain the same regardless of any college that you choose to attend. And this FAFSA form and student aid index, the results from it, will let families know whether or not that they're Pell Grant eligible. Eventually, then, you are going to get this financial aid offer. In the past, it's been called an award letter. We're now using the term financial aid offer now. And that's going to tell you what you've received at a particular college, what kind of financial aid that might be, the grants, loans, work study, whatever that is, into a form of a package to help try to meet a student's educational cost. And so that's really what I want to give you a sample of and kind of go over with you right now. First of all, though, what financial aid is. When we talk about financial aid and what you're going to see on the financial aid offers, it includes, hopefully for some of you, gift money, gift aid, the free money you don't have to pay back, in the forms of grants and scholarships. Now, those grants and scholarships can be given based on merit. A lot of times scholarships are based on merit, academics, athletics, artistic ability, and then need-based, based on, depending on your need. After you fill out the FAFSA form, there can be grants that might be able to be given to, whether they're federal, state, or even the colleges themselves. Now, besides the gift aid, though, there is another type of financial aid, and that's self-help aid. These are the loans and work study. You've got to do something to be able to get these types of aid. For loans, say that you're going to pay them back. For work study, put in the hours if you're given work study of a job and get paid just like a regular job that you would normally do. So all of these are types of financial aid when we're discussing over the financial aid offers. Now, I had mentioned a little bit earlier, too, the sources where the money can come from. Even though the FAFSA is a federal form, the sources where the aid can come from, and this can help determine, is federal, state, the colleges themselves, and then hopefully students have already been trying for private resources throughout the school year. For most of you probably seeing this as high school senior families going through it the first time, hopefully you're already had students that were looking for these private sources. But as they continue on into college, that's something else that they should be checking into. A lot of times the different departments will put out where some private resources might be able to have, depending on what major that a student's getting into. So even though they done it this year as high school seniors, even in college, this should be a year-to-year process, even looking for private resources too. Now, federal student aid, just want to mention a couple of different types. First of all, Pell Grant money. There is a range on that depending on a lot of time where your SAI is and your family's financial situation. There's a range on that Pell Grant award on there. So if some families, if they're actually sharing their financial aid offers, which I wouldn't necessarily do that, but if they're talking about what they might have received and have different amounts, Pell Grant money is not something that is just, it's a certain dollar amount. There is a range on that award depending on your family situation. The Pell Grant, though, the only application you need to fill out is the FAFSA form to see if you qualify for it. And if a student is going to be Pell Grant eligible, that is something that would travel with them from school to school. Not all financial aid is like that. The SEOG grant is a supplemental grant that's dished out by colleges to their neediest students as they see fit. So sometimes we will see some students have SEOG grant money on one financial aid offer and then on another that they won't. Typically, students will need at least to be Pell Grant eligible. But again, this money is dished out by the colleges as they see fit, just like work study money is as well. Work study money is dished out by the schools for students that have financial need as they see fit as well. And occasionally, if a student is looking at more than one college at this time right now and comparing financial aid offers, they might see work study on one and not on another as well. Now, something that every student's really going to see on their financial aid offers just by filling out a FAFSA form will be the Stafford or direct loans. What a student can get as a freshman is $5,500 in a federal Stafford loan. The amount on this loan, or what it could be if they have financial need, up to $3,500, up to $3,500 could be subsidized, which means the interest is paid for while they're in school. The other 2,000 then would be unsubsidized. Now, if a student has no financial need after any other aid given, they could still get $5,500 in the federal Stafford loan, but all of it would be unsubsidized, where the interest starts accruing right away on that loan. No matter what type that you get, when students begin repaying back their Stafford loans, is 6 months after they graduate or drop below half time. And so 6 months, graduate or drop below half time. And then they typically will have 10 years to pay it off. There's a lot of different repayment plans that are out there, but typically it would be a 10-year standard repayment plan. Now, we just found out this past week what the interest rate's going to be on Stafford loans for the 24-25 academic year. I wish I had better news, but the interest rates have went up. And so this year, that's going to be 6.53%. That is a fixed interest rate for 24-25 academic year. Typically, the Stafford loan interest rate for the next year, for the next year loans that are taken out, we generally learn in May or June or right before then. So that interest rate is for loans that are dispersed on or after July 1 of this year. And then 6 months graduate, some of these things that I've already mentioned right now. Do want to mention the last bullet point though on this slide, and that is the money will go directly to the school. So you will have that go directly to the school. And for students to be able to receive Stafford loan money, if they are wanting to take that out, they are actually going to need to complete what's called entrance counseling back to the studentaid.gov website, and also fill out what we call a master promissory note, which is basically just their general information and a couple of references. That can be, one can be a parent, and then the second reference has to be someone else at a different address than that parent down on there. But entrance counseling, which is a 20 or 30-minute, really open book test, you could almost say, at studentaid.gov for the first time borrowers of the Stafford loan having to go through that. And there should be information on how to do that and where to go exactly sent with you when your financial aid packages went out, if you need that Stafford loan money. Now, I will tell you, if that Stafford loan money that is given on your financial aid offers, if you don't need it, don't need to borrow it, by all means, you don't have to. If something comes up during the school year, and you need to take it out for, let's say, second semester, then that can be available still to you. But it isn't anything that you have to take out by any means, and we don't want anybody to borrow any more than they would need to. Now, that as a freshman, using freshman as an example, sometimes student and families are going to need more loan money. And one that they could possibly be able to get, there is a credit check on this. It's usually not too stringent of a credit check, but there is a credit check on this, is with a parent loan called a PLUS loan. This is a federal loan. Now, we just found out that the interest rate is over 9% for the 24-25 year. And the amount that you borrow in a Parent Plus loan, whatever you need, there are going to be over 4% in fees withheld as well. What a parent could borrow in a Plus loan is whatever the cost of attendance is of the college minus any other financial aid that they receive. So if a student is looking at more than one college, this amount of a Plus loan money that a parent could borrow will vary from school to school as well. Now, looking at that interest rate and the fees that are there, right now, the Plus loan is probably not an option for many families. I can't say that that a private loan option is going to be the best option for every families, but chances are 80 to 85% of the families could get a better interest rate and have no origination fees. Most private lenders don't have any origination fees that are withheld. So whatever you borrow, you're going to get that full amount. This just gives some idea about where that what we call gap funding can be borrowed from, including from ISL education lending that is on there. These rates were from a little while back, and quite honestly, many are working on their new rates right now as the federal rates that we just found out what they were going to be for next year. But if that is something that you need, the gap funding after any other financial aid has been given to you, I would encourage you to check the way the plus loan is right now as far as their interest rate and the fees that are there. I would encourage you to check in with a private loan. Another thing to mention between the plus loan and the private loan, the plus loan is only in a parent's name. It's not a co-signing option back with this plus loan. This is just in the parent's name, where a private loan, that can be just in a parent's name, or a parent could co-sign for the student. And most students just coming out of high school are going to need to have a co-signer for the private loan. But that is another just item we want to make sure to point out to you, because there are some parents that say, I don't want it just in my name. And so that's why they want to look at the private loan route as well, so that the student still has some stake within that loan. Again, that is not going to be the case with the plus loans. Now, another type of aid is state of Iowa aid. And you might see this on some of your financial aid offers as well. The Iowa Tuition Grant Program for Iowa students going to a private school in the state of Iowa, like Buena Vista University. Voc-Tech and Kibbe grants, or the Last Dollar Scholarship. These are for students looking at high demand career fields at Iowa community colleges. I will tell you right now that some of you might have just started maybe at some of the private schools. You have an idea of an Iowa tuition grant if you qualify for it, or at least an estimate that is on there. But for our state of Iowa, there hasn't been any real guidance yet that has been put down, given to a lot of the colleges and universities yet to be able to get out their financial aid offers, or they're estimating that aid based on previous years, what the qualifications were. So some of you that have received financial aid offers already, there could be a chance that down the road, once they get more solidified information on what the state of Iowa aid is going to be, they might have to send out some revisions to financial aid offers. So just wanted to mention that to you right now. To qualify for this aid, though, to see if you qualify, you've got to fill out a FAFSA form. There are some state of Iowa aid programs that also require an Iowa financial aid application too. If any of you went for the All Iowa Opportunity Scholarship, the National Guard Service Scholarship, Education and Training Voucher as well. And there is more information on their website that you see down below there on the screen if you want to learn more information in depth a little bit about the state of Iowa aid. Institutional aid is also something that can be listed on these financial aid offers. If you ever have a question on that, I would encourage you to contact the admissions or financial aid offices that are on there. But this is also something that you could see on some of your financial aid offers. And really, that's what I want to do next is, no matter where you get a financial aid offer from or how many that you have, whether one or two or five, depending on how many colleges and universities that a student was still looking at, the financial aid offers that you receive are going to be the colleges letting you know what a student will qualify for. And so when you receive this financial aid offer, if you've gotten some already or eventually will receive it, what we would like you to do is take a look at it over and figure out what your bottom line costs are going to be, and really formulate a game plan on what you're going to need to do to pay for those college expenses. See, what the colleges in coming up with the financial aid offer do is they take their cost of attendance, which includes tuition fees and housing and food. We call those the direct costs. But indirect costs are the books, transportation, and personal expenses as well. Those are estimated expenses just in case if students need any financial aid help for those. All five of those combined are what we call a cost of attendance. Well, the college will take that cost of attendance minus your financial need, and then that's how they're able to help determine what kind of financial aid offer that you're able to receive. On here, we're just giving an example on what it may look like. Every college and university is a little bit different on what the exact financial aid offer will look like, but a lot of them are going to spell out what their direct costs are going to be, the tuition fees and the housing and food, as well as then the book, supplies, transportation, and personal expenses that are on there. And one thing I want to point out with those indirect costs, that isn't anything that's going to be billable. Yes, there will be books each semester, but it's not billed right away because that varies from student to student, depending on what classes that they're going to end up taking. What will be billable directly is the tuition fees, and then if a student's living on campus, the housing and food on there as well. So what you see down below then is the amount of financial aid that a student is able to receive in the forms of grants, scholarships, loans, and even this one was offered work study. I can't always promise that you're always going to see the different types of grants that are on there and scholarships. There might not be as many as what you see here. For some students, it could be more. The loan is going to be on there. And then the work study money, that can vary from student to student as well. If you would like to get a financial aid offer comparison worksheet, did want to mention that the Bureau of Iowa College Aid has one that you can write down things, each financial aid offer that you get, and plug in some numbers to do a comparison uh, back and forth between each college and university that is on there. But what we would really like to see you do with these financial aid offers is, first of all, just take the direct costs of the school and do some figuring with that. Now, on our example here, though, let's also say that, okay, you do need financial aid for the books. You're not going to worry about the transportation or personal expenses. That's going to be something, transportation to or from school, you're going to pay out of pocket. The personal expenses month by month, whether students gets a job, parents help, whatever that is, you're not going to worry about those personal expenses either. So we have, between the books and transportation, and actually that's actually $1,050 is what the total would be if we're looking at the books that are on there. But let's just say, for an even number, $1,000. So total direct costs plus for the books, 18,722. Now, the first thing on any financial aid offer that we want you to do is subtract all this grant money that you receive, grant or scholarship money. That's free money, money you don't have to pay back, whether again from the federal government, the university itself. If it was state aid, we subtract that off. So taking that from the 18,722 and subtracting that off, we have a remainder of 12,372. The next thing that we do, and really if you're going to need to borrow any money at all, the first loan in almost all cases to take out is going to be this federal Stafford loan. For freshmen, that's $5,500. So we subtract that off, and now what we have, the remainder, is 6,872. Now you see on the financial aid offer here, there was a little bit more that was given that they might be able to receive from that. But we're not going to utilize this full number here. We're going to say you don't need to borrow the $7,972. It's more like 6,872. Just one way of helping keep a little bit of less money that you have to borrow. Another thing that we haven't even talked on here though yet is, and I know a question when we're working with families, if we're asking for, is what can you give out of pocket? What is something that you could do out of pocket, whether with a 529 plan, paying per month, or most colleges and universities will have payment plans you can talk to them about where you're paying monthly or 3 times a semester, whatever that might be, trying to pay for things out of pocket to keep that debt load down as well. Now, one thing that we haven't also factored in to helping pay for the cost is this federal work study. I know personally, I would rather see the student, if they're going to be doing the work study, using that to help to pay for their transportation and personal costs. This money isn't given to them up front. And so they do have to put in the hours to work to get it. And if they're going to need the transportation and personal expense money anyway, work study might be able to help and cover that as you go along. What we hate to see is for students or families counting on that work study money to help pay the cost for tuition as you go along, and then something comes up to where the student can't put in the hours or all the hours, and now they have a large chunk of money to pay the bill. So ideally, we would like to see them try to avoid that and stay away from thinking about that in terms of paying off their bill and using it more for those, again, transportation and personal expenses as well. That's how we really like to go through these offers. And what we're looking at then, when we talk about the gap funding and what you might have to look for the plus loan or the private loan, then you would be looking at this amount with this example right here. But each financial aid offer that you receive, this is the way we would want you to do it and to try to figure out what your bottom line costs are going to end up being. Another thing that we like to mention to be a little proactive with the student loans too is the understanding your limits. Not only think about this in terms of 1 year, but what it's going to be over 2 years or 4 years, depending on the college that you're going to. One rule of thumb that we try to throw out to students and families is not to borrow any more than what your starting salary is going to be. If that starting salary is going to be 35,000, only borrow 35,000 for your entire amount of that degree. Your monthly payment is going to be about $350 a month for the 10 years. And we would hate to see you borrow $80,000 and have to pay $800 a month when the starting salary is 35,000. Trying to keep your debt load down to what your starting salary, what you anticipate that to be or less, is going to allow the student to more comfortably afford their student loan payments once they've graduated from college. So again, that's not always easy, but a target definitely to shoot for. Anything you can do to keep debt load down, we want to encourage you to do that. This is just an idea of a federal student loan repayment chart based on paying it over what you're going to have to pay, depending on the interest rate and the amount that you borrowed per month over a 10-year period. So as you see, as you continue to go along there, you're really starting to see higher dollar amounts. And what we don't want to see is, again, you having to owe any more than what your starting salary is going to be, what you feel like, or you're going to get into an area to where all your money is going to student loan payments. ISL Education Lending has some great college planning tools at their website here at iowastudentloan.org/college-planning-tools. And a student loan game plan to help calculate student loan payments based on the expected starting salary, but also a college funding forecaster that will also help you estimate your total expenses over 4 years. So plugging in numbers and based on an algorithm that they have, giving you an idea on what it's going to cost over 4 years, which is something we want every student and family to do, whether again 2 years or 4 years. Not only look at it just 1 year at a time, but look at it in the totality. Return on college investment, learn how that potential is affected by your choice, and then a grad degree gauge too, if you're looking on into that. But a lot of good planning tools that are on here that I think it can be good for both students and families to try to work together and learn a little bit. Now, I hadn't mentioned this earlier. Something that before financial aid offers are able to send out could be a process called verification. There's less of this than what there used to be, but if there were any issues and it's not necessarily even, I shouldn't say any issues. Sometimes it can be, other times it's just kind of a check and balance that the government has done. But really, verification would be a request by the colleges and universities for extra documents. That could be verification forms, a copy of signed taxes, a tax transcript, whatever it might be. If you've been selected for verification, we want you to respond immediately. If you have any questions, check with the college and university about that, because a failure to respond could delay or reduce the amount of financial aid that a student is able to receive. Another term that I want to point out too is special circumstances. If you have any special financial circumstances in your situation, because the FAFSA form is always looking 2 years behind in the financial aid process, where you would go for any type of an appeal would be directly to the college or colleges that you are looking at, not to the FAFSA itself. The colleges are the ones that are empowered to make professional judgments, and I cannot promise you that they're always going to be able to do something in help of your special circumstances. But the worst thing they can do is say, no, there's nothing else that can be done. Some examples where you would definitely want to go to, not limited to, but these would be good examples, is if you had a change in employment status, not just student, but parents as well, medical expenses not covered by insurance, or a change in parent marital status. contact the colleges and they can help you guide that if you feel like you have any special circumstances. If there is something that the college can do and making adjustments, that might mean the ability to get a little more financial aid for a student within that. Again, cannot promise it, and the only place you can go would be directly to the college or colleges themselves to ask them about this. Once you do get your financial aid offer and you've went through it and had all your questions answered, if you do have, again, questions on your financial aid offer, talk to the colleges and universities. That's something at ICANN that we'll also look through and go through with you, just like I did real quickly through that financial aid offer, spelling out what the aid means and what it looks like your bottom line costs are going to be out of what could be out of pocket, what you might need to borrow. But once you've made a decision, sign that financial aid offer and get it back to the school. Typically, that's all going to be done online now using your college student portal. And a lot of times, then you're also able to register for orientation that happens during the summer and going through an orientation there. Something else that really I don't know if it gets utilized as much as it should, but that would be a payment plan. Talk to the financial aid office or business office and talk about what payment plans that they do have. Most colleges will have payment plans that are interest free. There might just be a small fee to sign up for it, where you can spread your payments out over 9 months or 10 months interest free, paying so much. And maybe it's not the entire amount of the bill, but it is, let's say it is, half of the bill that you could do and the other half that you've got to borrow. Again, every little bit helps, and less money that you got to borrow if there is anything you can pay as you go along as well. So whatever that might be, talk to the college and university about a payment plan, and at least find out a little bit more about that. Now, again, student loans, those federal Stafford loans, besides saying the acceptance on the financial aid offer, for those that are going to a school and borrowing for the first time, you're going to need to sign a master promissory note, where how you do that would be logging back into studentaid.gov with a student's FSA ID, the username and password, and you would be, first of all, actually completing entrance counseling. Entrance counseling, a 20-30 minute tutorial that I had mentioned, where students answer questions as they continue on and they've got to answer them right. Basically letting them know that when you're borrowing money, you've got to pay it back, and also giving them some tips on how to keep the borrowing down as well. Once they complete that entrance counseling, then they can do a master promissory note, which again is just their general information, and then a couple of references that they would need. One, as I mentioned earlier, can usually be a parent on there, and then somebody else at a different address, a friend, another relative, whatever that might be. But those instructions about doing the promissory note and entrance counseling are generally included with the financial aid offer, or at least you'll receive it if you accept the loan on the financial aid offer. Then typically you'll get instructions on how to complete that process. If you have any more questions after visiting this, whether scheduling appointments or want more information, this is our website at icansucceed.org, too, at icansucceed.org. So we are more than happy to help look over financial aid offers for you, letting you go through it with you, letting you know what we feel, really what your bottom line costs are going to be, and in trying to encourage you not to borrow any more than you need to, trying ways to keep that debt load down. I want to put out a last, I forgot, I wanted to also, mention this. For any of you families that still have students that are younger and going to be looking at college, whether freshmen, sophomore, or juniors next year, we do have our 34th annual Golden Circle Career and College Fair that's going to be on Sunday, September 22nd from 1 to 3 at the Prairie Meadows Conference Center again. So 34th annual Golden Circle College Fair. Just wanted to mention this, even though most of you that would be viewing it are doing it for students that are getting financial aid offers and going on to college. But some of you as parents might have younger students that are just beginning their college search. And this can be a great place in one setting to visit, with a lot of different colleges and even career information that will be available there as well. All right. Whoops, hit the wrong button there. Um, that was all the information that I really wanted to share. I don't see any other questions in the chat box right now. If there were any last minute questions, please put those in, but I am not seeing any right now with that. So based on not seeing any other questions, the last thing that I want to mention is many of you might be watching this as a recording. Please contact us at icansucceed.org and let us know if we can be a help if you have questions, or again, specific questions might have to be directly to the colleges and universities. So don't hesitate to contact your admissions or financial aid offices of any colleges that you're talking with. These financial aid offers, if you've never been through it before, can be a little confusing at times, and there's plenty of places you can go for help to get those questions answered. For those of you that haven't seen them yet, I'm sure they're going to be coming out very soon for you. And in a normal year, you probably would have already had them, but the 24-25 FAFSA has been anything but normal, unfortunately, and continues to have a few issues that we've got to work with. But hopefully, again, once you get them, you won't hesitate to contact any of us if you have questions later on. Just double checking, not seeing any other questions that are on there. We're going to go ahead and end the webinar now. Good luck with going through this process and getting students on to college next year. And again, contact us if you have any questions along the way. Thank you.